I'm back with some loose change, a mostly empty shelf, and a bin that does this. Welcome to Bargain or Bust, the show where I try to find some of the cheapest games for sale in my local second-hand store to see just how bad they can be. Will I find any hidden gems worthy of a spot on the shelf, or be left with garbage games destined for the trash? In the first episode, we saved 2 out of the 3 games who earned a place on the almighty IKEA Kallax. The other one headed straight to the abattoir. But it was time for another trip to CX, CEX, Sex, Kex, I don't know, and rummage around their surprisingly large collection of PS2 games. It's the year 2021 and there's still all this to choose from. Oh, it's enough to bring a tear to your eye. On the opposite wall, they've also got a bunch of Wii games, which I promise we will try out soon, but for today's episode, there was just too many weird PS2 games to choose from. And to top it all off, they typically cost between 50 pence and £2. Is that low enough to find a bargain, or will we be stuck with any more busts? Time to find out. We're starting things off with what can only be described as a guaranteed bargain. No, okay, not really. Instead, we're premiering with Primal. Just look at that eye-catching cover. The creepy monster thing, the mysterious woman, the glare. At just £1, consider me sold. According to the back of the box, Primal is a modern fantasy adventure of breathtaking scope and detail from 2003.
An ordinary girl, a realm of demons, an epic conflict between primal forces.
And hey, would you look at that, it's made by SCE Studio Cambridge, the same team behind Medieval 1 and 2. Man, I should revisit those games now, they were fun. Anyway, well, if anyone was going to get demonic forms and generally spooky stuff right, it was these guys, surely. And you know what? With this opening cutscene, things seem promising. We're swooped into the dingy-looking Nexus nightclub to enjoy some heavy metal, and probably some other stuff too. But then, as per usual, someone has to come along and ruin it, in this case some red-eyed cousin of Michael Myers. No one seems to care about the literal giant monster standing in the middle of the dance floor apart from Lewis, the frontman of the band. After the show, we're introduced to the protagonist herself, his girlfriend Jen. As they head home, they're attacked by the now demonic monster, leaving Lewis missing and Jen out cold. Wow, what an introduction. The music and animation together really throw you into the story fast, but as we load into another cutscene, that's where the problems start to arrive. We find Jen comatose in a hospital where the doctors seem more interested in coffees and donuts than their own patients. And now for an explanation of the rest of the scene. Deep breath, everyone. Jen's spirit is freed from her body by a little gargoyle creature called Scree. He takes her through a rift gate from Mortalis into the Nexus, a convergence point for energies drawn from the 4 realms of Oblivion. No, not that one. Scree is a servant to Lady Orella, one of the 2 primal forces that govern the universe, who represents righteousness and order. Conversely, Abaddon represents the forces of chaos and evil. 2 of the 4 realms are aligned with order, the other 2 chaos. Each realm has its own natural balance, eternally generating the right amount of levels of primal energy, which is drawn into the Nexus, fed through this blue guy called Kronos, and into Orella and Abaddon. But the forces are imbalanced, and chaos is overpowering Kronos, which will ultimately result in the destruction of Oblivion and Mortalis, i.e. Earth. Listen, I'm all for world building, but from pressing new game to actually being in control of Jen took 12.5 minutes. I walked forwards for a bit and then bam, another 3-minute cutscene, forwards a bit more, bam, 1.5 minute cutscene, and another and another. It took around 24 minutes to get to what I would consider actual gameplay exploring the map. Come on, I could have watched an episode of Simpsons in that time. Did no one, when they were playtesting this game, did they not think, maybe we should give the player a little bit more to do in the first 20 minutes of the game? Maybe?
I'll quite happily lead the way whenever you like.
Shut up back there, I'm moaning, alright? Don't get me wrong, it's interesting, if a bit generic, but there are better ways of telling a story than just giving a giant exposition dump right at the very beginning. It's overwhelming and not very fun. But hey, at least I got to enjoy Jen's Oscar-worthy performance of finding out she's dead.
What the hell happened? Oh my god. I'm dead?
And the Oscar goes to...
Jen. Oh my god.
Oh, bravo. On that note, I joke, but the voice acting is actually very good. Behind the scenes footage reveals the two voice actors recorded together in the same room, and that really resonates in the final product. They bicker and tease each other, it's a buddy cop dynamic really. Though sometimes it's easy to forget that Jen is meant to be 21 years old.
Ooh, shiny. And pretty comfy for a pair of metal doodads.
So it took 24 minutes to get to the gameplay. What's it actually like? It's okay. Truth be told, in the hour and a half I played, I didn't really do much apart from walk from marker to marker, occasionally do a bit of traversing, and smash a lot of pots. You can switch between Jen and Scree at any point, who each have their own benefits. Jen can fight, and Scree can climb stone walls. Though when I say fight, what I really mean is just spamming the controller senseless because it's so basic. Things looked more promising when we unlocked Jen's first demonic form, but her attacks were basically the same as before, except now she looked as though she belonged in the Cats film from 2019. As sluggish as it made the opening sequence, you can't deny this game was ambitious in its story, and a quick sneak peek of later levels reveals that it has a lot more to give, 11.5 hours more in fact. I think that's where Primal really shines, not in its gameplay but in its characters and visuals. Jen and Scree make for a great duo, it's just a shame the beginning is so dull. Clearly it was somewhat popular though, since Primal was upscaled and re-released on the PS4 back in 2016. And I'm not gonna lie, part of me wants to pick up that 1080p version and continue playing. But for now, I'll stick to the PS2 one, which has rightly earned a place on the shelf. Oh, and if you're wondering, my favourite part was when Scree turned into Marge.
You are one strange critter, Scree.
By the way, if you'd like to see the full recording of my time playing Primal, as well as all the other games in this video, head over to my second channel, More Muckluck. And while you're there, why not subscribe? If Primal was a bit too heavy-handed in its plot, then thankfully our next game doesn't suffer from that problem at all. For a whopping £1.50, I chose Cell Damage Overdrive. Mainly because it looked like wacky races, and what do you know, it's a way out wacky world of cartoon fun racing and fighting for 1 to 4 players, released back in 2002. In this game's universe, Cell Damage Overdrive is the most popular cartoon demolition derby show on Toon TV. Each week, the world's toughest toons smash and crash their bruising cruising vehicles onto, over and through the Cell Damage Overdrive set. Personally, I think that description needed more rhyme, so let's just add in some more. Oozing, perusing, refusing, diffusing. There we go, much better. £1.50 is the most I've spent on the game so far in this series, and I wondered, would this rival the actual Wacky Races PS2 game released a year earlier that I also own and remember enjoying? Well, the short answer is no. Cell Damage Overdrive is pants. The long answer is still no, it's pants, but it'll be slightly more palatable with friends at least. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to realise that these sorts of games shine in their multiplayer modes, but at least with other weapon-based kart racing games, you can still enjoy them on your own. Crash Team Racing, Diddy Kong Racing, and of course Mario Kart are all perfectly fun single-player games alongside their multiplayer element. Cell Damage Overdrive isn't, and not just because of its ugly loading screen art ripped straight from Microsoft Paint. There are 10 characters to choose from, but none of these off-brand wacky racers seem very interesting. I mean, this one's literally just a nerdy kid. If I wanted that, I would have played Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, thank you very much. I plumped for the whip-wielding character Dominique Trix, and reminded myself that this was in fact a 3+ game. Cell Damage Overdrive features 3 game modes: Gate Relay, a standard race through checkpoints, Flag Rally, a capture the flag match where you literally catch legged flags running around the map, and finally Smack Attack, where you must be the first to reach a target number of smacks using the variety of weapons the game has to offer. Smack Attack feels like the standout mode the game was actually designed around, making use of what are actually quite fun weapons to use: chainsaws, baseball bats, Tommy guns, and an impressive 33 others as well. That being said, the maps are just too small and too bland in their design. There's the odd shortcut here or there, but nothing too interesting. And worst of all 3 game modes share the exact same maps, so you end up racing around something which is clearly not designed as a linear style track. The developers just plonked down a few checkpoint gates and called it a day. Though the footage of it does indeed look like a way out wacky world of cartoon fun, the actual controls were a bit all over the place, literally. You can flip left, right and forwards, hop and bounce, and ultimately get whacked halfway across the map. Yeah, okay, it's meant to be all cartoony physics, but for the most part, I just didn't have a clue what was going on. Probably because I'm getting old, but I'm gonna blame the game instead. Whoa! No! I've gone too far! Oh, look at that. That was a pro move right there. Pro Cell Damage Overdrive player. In the midst of all the sound effects and mayhem on screen, I did manage to fly once though, which was pretty neat. Who needs Mario Kart, eh? Even with friends, I'm not sure how fun Cell Damage Overdrive would be. When it comes down to it, there's just very little content to the game, and in the short time I spent with it, I felt like I had seen pretty much all there is to see. I stopped caring, in the same way the camera itself stopped caring, and bonked right into the scenery. And in case you were wondering, yeah, sometimes it does feel a bit stupid taking all these awful games to the till to buy. But at least this time the cashier said he used to play Cell Damage Overdrive when he was young, so it was a little bit less awkward. The good news for him is he can relive all those childhood memories quite easily since the game has been ported to a ludicrous amount of consoles including the PS4, Xbox One and the Nintendo Switch. For me however, I'm happy never touching this game again. Goodbye Cell Damage Overdrive. Let's move on to the third and final game of the episode, and I'm starting to see a pattern with these. Much like last time, we're ending with another war-themed purchase. This one is World War Zero. Costing a lowly £1, how could I resist a game based on the premise where the First World War never ended? Well, reading all the terrible grammar on the back of the box wasn't a great start, but in doing so I learned that after 50 years, the war is still raging with Allied forces fighting the mad Baron Ugenberg. He put an end to the Bolshevik Revolution and now plans to build a Russo-Mongolian empire stretching from the Atlantic to the Chinese Sea. The name Baron Ugenberg was enough to keep me interested, and hey, it turns out he's based on a real anti-communist general, Roman von Ungern Sternberg. Though fortunately for us, the real deal wasn't quite as successful. So World War Zero is obviously a first-person shooter, but one that aims to mix elements of World War I's tactics like trench warfare, alongside World War II style weapons and other contemporary technology. After a brief tutorial in the barracks where I got to shoot some cans,
My cans! My precious antique cans!
we learn that the Russo-Mongols are working on nuclear technology at a production site we need to go in and blow up. Blowing up nukes, what could go wrong? They say war is an ugly thing, and with World War Zero, they weren't kidding. This game is a splodgy, muddy, boring mess. I can forgive the muddiness since, you know, trenches were known to be just a bit dirty, but everything else is just so generic. If it weren't for me outlining the plot, would any of this look like an alternate universe to you? From the cover, I was imagining something similar to Fallout 3, but the closest we get to that are these Pip-Boy looking computers that act as save points and a place to dump some world building exposition. Red text against a photo background isn't the best design choice, but it does say here, gripping play experience reinforced by stunning graphics and amazing sound effects. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and call that a lie. The shooting was dull and the stunning graphics didn't stun in the positive manner they were hoping for. Oh, look at those stunning graphics. Just stunning. But were there any redeeming features in World War Zero? Surely there has to be something. This is a re-release of the 2002 game Iron Storm after all, where they fixed some bugs and added some more weapons for it. Fine, okay, I like the mechanic of inverting your controls whenever you get hit with mustard gas, and sometimes the ragdoll physics of enemies gave me a chuckle. Come on, let's see some ragdoll. Oh yeah! That was quite good ragdoll there, I'll give it that, yep. I don't know why he flayed out like that, but I like it. But I haven't really got much else to say about World War Zero because frankly nothing much happened. There were no cutscenes, no real dialogue and no interesting objectives, just get from point A to point B and shoot anything that gets in the way. But hopefully not too much gets in the way, else the game starts to grind to a halt when there are more than 5 enemies on screen. Compare this to the first Call of Duty which came out in 2003 and it kinda makes sense why there's been 24 of those and just one of these. World War Zero is plain rubbish, which is why it will feel right at home in here. And that's going to do it for this episode of Bargain or Bust. 3 games played, but only 1 survived, which means that the star buy of the show, of course, goes to Primal. Well done, Primal. Thanks for sticking around until the end of the episode. If you enjoyed it, please do leave a like, and if you're not already, consider subscribing so you don't miss any more in the future. If you want to watch me live, I stream regularly over on twitch.tv/Muckluck, and if you want to chat, come and join my Discord at Club Muckluck. See you next time, folks.